Hello, Association Chat family. I'll tell you what, it's been a lot of fun to be here as the virtual MC for the Association Chat group. And I thought maybe we should sort of recap what's been going on in the full 2 days that we've had at the ASAE Annual Meeting. So I am sitting here with Anne Nevel. Anne is she's the Senior Director of Education for HDA.
Yep.
But you have been in the association world since 2006.
Yep, I sure have, yeah. And I've had the opportunity to work for both healthcare and trade associations, but I've always been in the education side of it.
Sure, and so you've been coming to ASAE for a long time. How many times have you been here?
This is actually only my third time that I've been to this event, which is really kind of interesting. I've been doing professional education for our members, but I wasn't always taking advantage of my own professional education. So,
nice, well, we're glad you're here. And I know that you have been like really kind of observing and watching both the educational side, but also the fun and maybe a little bit silly side of things that go on. So I thought I'd just ask you, let's start with what's the most interesting thing that you've seen or learned or observed?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. The one thing that, the coolest thing I think I saw yesterday, and I just like carried around and showed to everybody, was I had my picture was taken and put onto the top of a drink.
Oh, you showed that to me?
Yeah, I'm sure I did.
It was like floating on the top of your...
I can't even drink this because my photo is right here. But it was cool. It was very clever, and I thought it was, it was a great conversation starter.
A lot of the booths really do interesting things to bring people in. It's not just like the old days where, you know, maybe they gave away a piece of candy or some sort of a tchotchke. There were a lot of interesting things. There was a sewing machine artist.
I thought I saw that. I was like, is somebody sewing? Okay. Yeah.
I think it might have been Richmond, Virginia. I hope I'm doing justice to whoever it was. I think it was Richmond, Virginia. And I thought they took a picture of you and computer generated it. So my wife works for an association, and she's here getting her professional development. And she showed me this thing, and I thought it was computer generated. It was a sewing machine artist who he sat there and he would look at you and he would move it around and he hand sewed portraits of people while they sat there. And that booth had a line 15 people deep.
It's crazy, yeah, and you've got to be innovative anymore. I mean, somebody else had cheese pairing. And the guy, and what I think is cool too, and I think it's a great idea, is he has his own business doing that kind of thing, so he can do it for events. So he was also, while it was something for the booth, he was also selling his services.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So on the education side, what did you learn? What made you say, wow, this was a really good meeting?
Yeah, so I took a few notes so that I could kind of remember. And
you can look at your notes. This is association chat. We're having fun.
So one of the things I learned yesterday, actually, that I realized I'm like 2 years behind, but everybody doesn't know every little piece of this. I learned this from Lowell Applebaum yesterday.
Super smart guy, member of association chat.
Yep, absolutely. And in his session, I learned, one, that LinkedIn bought lynda.com. I didn't know that. Everybody else seems to know that. But what he showed in our session was that on your LinkedIn account, in the top right corner, you can click a button that takes you right to lynda.com.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it's also pulling from your, so I think this is super important. It's pulling from your LinkedIn account, from your resume there, and then when you go to lynda.com from there, then it suggests
like
education
courses?
For you. Yeah.
Like it's going to tell you, oh, you want to learn from these experts.
And then you can get a certificate from a course and link it back to your LinkedIn account.
Oh, very nice.
Super
very
cool,
nice.
right?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great tip. I mean, I've taken a couple of courses. I didn't know that I could just make a click and find the right
and
things.
it's right there on your LinkedIn account.
There you go. If you didn't make it here to Columbus, you just learned that special thing. So something else.
Let's see. So another thing I thought was really cool that I related back to Association Chat, I even shot a quick message out to Kiki yesterday because in a talk they were talking about purpose over brand and the concept of a hashtag or something. And I really thought that was really, it resonated with me with regard to Association Chat, because Association Chat is a purpose.
Yes. And
not necessarily a brand that somebody owns. I mean, while it's, been started by, the community, basically.
Right.
And the whole idea of just for the betterment and for the good of the community, the whole ASAE Chat hashtag.
Well, but as while I was walking around, I was telling people that that Kiki had asked me to be the sort of virtual MC for this, and it was interesting how many people, when I told them, because I was walking around with our great videographer, so Paul King of King Productions and I were sort of attached at the hip yesterday interviewing people, and people were asking me what I was doing, and I was explaining it. And I was surprised there were a lot of people who said, oh, what's that? Can I be a member? And I'm like, yeah, just go, you know, just go sign up.
You're a part, yeah.
But people, I was trying to explain to them that it did grow over the years. It kind of started out as a hashtag on Twitter, if I remember correctly. And now it's grown into this whole community that lives on Facebook and beyond.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really cool to be able to bring that back from one of the sessions. Yeah, so I watched somebody win a car today.
They won a car?
Somebody won a car.
So that's kind of the cool. I was going to just ask you what was the coolest thing you saw.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That might be the answer.
Sitting at lunch, one of the ladies at our table, and it was really cool to watch it. Really neat experience. She has a daughter that has a need, and
that's awesome.
She won a car.
That is awesome.
Like, how often does that happen when you go to a conference that you win a car?
So as a professional speaker, I'm always drawn to like, what's the session that made me say, wow? Because sometimes there's a great learning tip, but sometimes there's one where you say, that speaker captivated me. Yeah. Was there any session you went to where like the person really stood out as, oh my gosh, everybody should have been in this room?
Yeah, you know, and I feel bad because there were some things today that had little pieces in them, so I feel bad that I'm kind of reflecting on yesterday a little bit more than today. But the young lady that spoke about periods,
I didn't go to that.
Yeah, and it's funny because I actually made a point to, I was thinking about this earlier today, that I wanted to say it because I think that's her whole thing, is that it's about the menstruation movement, the period, and that it's a normal thing, and that it's natural, and that it shouldn't be treated as a luxury item to be able to take care of these things. And she's young. She started doing this when she was 16. She's now 21. She has run for public office. She's done some really incredible things.
When you were 21, how many times had you run for public office?
I was just trying to get out of bed. Jeez. Yeah, no, not at all.
Not me either.
Not at all. But I mean, I thought that was cool, and I thought it was relevant to this too, to just kind of be able to talk about that and say that, like, it struck me, one of the things that she told, and so you can cut me off if you need to. I will rattle on forever.
Rattle on forever, and everybody wants to hear it.
But one of the things she said that I thought was fascinating that I really hadn't thought about was, she said, her mom had lost her job, and I think she was trying to raise 3 kids on her own, and they were, kind of struggling.
Sure.
And she ended up spending some time in Portland around the homeless folks there, and got into some conversations with the women. And she was like, after talking with them, she was like, we have it rough. She's like, but I've never had to use garbage to take care of that time,
Sure.
to take care of this for myself, and it shouldn't be.
Well, I think one of the things that you sort of touched on, I missed that session.
Yeah,
that
I know.
That wasn't one that stood out to me.
It's a whole other thing, but it's like, she was just, her message though was also being, what's the word I'm looking for? Just being herself.
Sure.
She's like unapologetically being
honest.
Herself.
Right.
Yep.
And that's the thing that
totally
I really noticed from every session that I went to over the last 2 days, was that there was a lot of diversity, both ethnic diversity and age diversity, and just diversity of thought. I several times I walked out and said, oh, I have to think differently now about something. And so to me, that was great.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for coming and giving us this recap. Do you have any last message for our association chat family?
Just that I think that it's, we keep talking about the different ways to get education and what we do, and it's always still very important to meet face to face and meet with your colleagues when you can. And I know it's not always easy, but if you have the opportunities,
Yeah, it has been a great experience being here, and we still have tomorrow.
Yep.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Yep, it's exhausting though.